The Knights Templar, legendary soldier monks of the Middle Ages. Warriors of God. Holy men, devilish fighters, sworn to poverty, but richer than kings. Legend says they guarded the greatest relic in Christendom, the Holy Grail. A treasure so priceless, it gave them unrivaled power. Yet at their height, the Templars are destroyed and their fortune vanishes. Who were the Knights Templar? And can the true secret of their power be revealed today? March 18, 1314 AD. One of Europe's most powerful men, Jacques de Molay, is about to be executed. The charges against him? Devil worship, sodomy, and financial blackmail. De Molay is one of 69 men burned alive on orders of King Philip IV of France. The condemned belong to one of the most mysterious brotherhoods in history, the Knights Templar. In the Middle Ages, these warriors are feared, wealthy, and powerful. But in 1307, that reign comes to an end. The Templars stand accused of heresy. Under intense interrogation, they crack and confess. Overnight, 2 centuries of wealth and power go up in smoke. The Knights Templar vanish from history, but leave behind a beguiling mystery. The Templars call themselves the Poor Knights of Christ, yet become one of the richest organizations in Europe.
It's here.
It's said the source of their wealth is an ancient relic discovered beneath the ruins of the old Jewish temple in Jerusalem. And its fate remains a riddle. To discover the Templars' secret, we must retrace their footsteps, back to the beginning, back to the clash of civilizations called the Crusades. 1096 AD, an army of European knights marches thousands of miles to the region they call the Holy Land. Muslim states dominate the Middle East and a region that stretches from Persia to Spain. Pope Urban II calls for a holy war to liberate Christianity's most sacred city, Jerusalem. It takes the Crusaders nearly 3 years to reach the holy city. Along the way, battle, disease, and starvation take their toll. Over 4,000 knights set out for Jerusalem. A little over 1,000 arrive. July 1099. After a 5-week siege, the Crusaders take the city.
When the Crusaders captured Jerusalem, first thing that happened, there was a bloodbath of almighty proportions. They slaughtered everybody, Christian, Jew, Muslim alike. It was not a pretty event.
A French eyewitness describes the carnage. Piles of heads, hands, and feet were to be seen on the streets of the city. in the temple and porch of Solomon, men rode in blood up to their knees and bridle reins. Indeed, it was a just and splendid judgment of God that this place should be filled with the blood of unbelievers, since it had suffered so long from their blasphemies. To rule the new kingdom of Jerusalem, the Crusaders choose from their own ranks. Crusader kings will fight battle after battle to hold this sacred ground. In 1118, they choose their third leader and name him King Baldwin II. King Baldwin receives an offer of help from a Crusader knight,
My lord.
the French nobleman Hugh de Payon.
Rise. I have a great vision, my lord.
Hugh de Payon proposed the idea of a contingent of fighting monks whose responsibility would be to guard the Holy Land and to safeguard passage of pilgrims on their way from Europe to the Holy Land and to defend the holy city of Jerusalem.
King Baldwin likes the idea, and the Templars are born.
Thou art a knight of the Templar. Thou art a warrior of God.
From a band of 9 knights, the Templars will swell into an army of thousands. They call themselves the Order of the Poor Knights of the Temple of Solomon. In time, they're simply known as the Knights Templar. They're not only warriors, but monks. They take vows of poverty, obedience, and celibacy. Europe has never seen such a force.
The whole idea of a fighting order, a military order, was really a quite extraordinary and indeed even revolutionary idea in the church.
How do you combine these two things? Do you pray over your weapons? The answer is yes, that they did. You know, they regarded their calling as a holy calling.
The Knights Templar decided they would create what we might think of today as special forces for Christ.
Like medieval monks, Templars pray 7 times a day. But what makes these monks different is they train to fight.
Your first defense is your sword. I guarantee you, you lose this, you will lose your life. When we cut, we keep going, we do not stop. Is everyone ready?
Between those two military orders, you had an extremely efficient, highly disciplined, superbly equipped standing army. Small in number, but incredibly, they packed one hell of a punch.
The Templars crush the Muslims at the siege of Ascalon in 1153, the Battle of Mortgizard in 1177, and the Battle of Arsuf in 1191. They seem invincible. The Templars fight by strict rules. They are forbidden to retreat unless ordered to do so, and only when outnumbered by more than 3 to 1.
The Templars really were different from other parts of the Crusader army. It was known that they wouldn't break ranks. It was known that they wouldn't run away, that they wouldn't desert.
The Templars' Red Cross stands for martyrdom, death in battle is glorious. The key tactical maneuver is the squadron charge. A small group of knights attacks head-on a tightly packed wedge. Their goal? To break the enemy line and scatter the enemy to the right and left. The charge is reckless, terrifying, magnificent.
They famously won many battles, So their respect was incredible. They had a mystique. They had an aura of power.
Part of their mystique grows from their headquarters. King Baldwin gives the Knights one of Christendom's holiest places, the site of the ancient Jewish temple. Jesus himself once preached here.
We found something. Show us.
But it's what the Templars uncover here that may have shaped their destiny. Beneath the ancient temple, folklore says the Knights make one of the most remarkable discoveries of all time. 9 centuries ago, in one of the holiest places on Earth, a primitive archaeological dig begins. It is the site of the ancient Jewish temple in Jerusalem. During the First Crusade, it becomes the headquarters of the Knights Templar. The temple was built by King Solomon in the 10th century BC. 4 centuries later, the Babylonians destroy it, and the Jews rebuild it. The temple once housed the sacred Ark of the Covenant. In an inner room, the Holy of Holies, it is said God himself lived here. 70 AD, war destroys the house of God. A Roman army crushes a Jewish rebellion. The Romans burn the city and tear down the temple. By the time of the Crusades, the Muslims built a mosque over the ruins of the Jewish temple that still stands, the Dome of the Rock. A small group of fighting monks now occupy part of one of the holiest pieces of real estate in the holiest city on earth.
They were housed in the temple complex in Jerusalem, and that was a very important statement as far as the importance that they gave to this new order, this new ideal.
Not all scholars agree.
Frankly, I think the reason is sort of an accident. I don't think it was freighted with any kind of real meaning other than it was something available.
Scholars also dispute the Templars' original mission: to safeguard pilgrims to the Holy Land.
There have been some researchers who say they had nothing to do with assisting pilgrims. And the question remains, of course, what else were they doing?
Maybe they were onto something.
I spent 9 years tunneling through solid rock and then a series of radiating tunnels underneath. What they discovered down there has been a matter of intense speculation ever since.
According to one theory, the Templars discover a treasure map. The map is actually a scroll etched in copper, detailing the exact hiding place of the treasures of the Jewish temple. '70 AD, as the Roman army conquers Jerusalem, Jewish rebels hide the treasures of the temple throughout the Holy Land. To recover them, they leave directions, etched in copper, to last forever. For centuries, the scroll's very existence is unknown. Then, in 1947, a Bedouin shepherd looking for a stray sheep makes an electrifying discovery. Ancient scrolls, nearly 2,000 years old, some of the oldest Jewish texts ever found. The Dead Sea Scrolls.
When the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, amongst them was one called the Copper Scroll, and it listed a series of sites throughout what we would now call the Holy Land, where temple treasures had been buried for safekeeping prior to the Roman destruction of the temple.
In the 1950s, a British archaeologist follows the clues etched on the Copper Scroll. He finds no Jewish treasure, but learns a previous expedition discovered something just as tantalizing. Clues that someone may have beaten him to it. medieval spurs, fragments of swords, and a Templar cross, artifacts associated with the Knights Templar.
We found something! Show us! Lead on!
It was definitely found that the Knights Templar of the 12th century were there, but there's no evidence as to precisely what they were doing.
Or what they found.
Here. This is it. Here. Here.
Legends say within the very ruins of the temple, the copper scroll led them to one of Christendom's most sought-after treasures, the Holy Grail. In the Middle Ages, the Grail is the subject of countless tales, legends, and songs. In some versions, the Grail is a cup or plate used by Christ at the Last Supper. But with so few clues, it could be anything.
The Grail is a medieval concept. The Grail, in these stories, was many different forms. Maybe they're searching for a cup. Others believed it was a special stone that fell from heaven.
Another story connects the Grail to the very death of Jesus, the Roman spear that pierced Christ's side.
The other candidate for the treasure, if you will, that the Templars were supposedly tunneling for was the head of John the Baptist, which also presumably had been buried there.
The most controversial theory suggests the treasure the Templars found may have been records of the descendants of Christ.
Some people have said that somehow they secreted out a member of the family of Jesus, some relative of the marriage between Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
By this theory, the Latin words for Holy Grail, Sang Grael, are really a mistranslation of two different words, Sang Real, or royal blood. Under this theory, Jesus married and had children, and those offspring were the secret of the Grail.
There are conspiracy theories, of course, everywhere, so often surrounding the Grail. And surrounding Jesus as well, the story that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were surely married. I happen to think it's false, but it's perfectly reasonable.
But the royal blood theory makes more sense than a relic being the source of Templar power. Proving Jesus had married and had children would shake the very foundation of Christianity and threaten the entire power structure of medieval Europe. The Church would surely pay any price to suppress this information, or so the theory goes. No one knows what the Templars may have found, but there's little question about what happened next. Hugh de Payon, the head Templar, leaves the Holy Land to attend the Council of Troyes in France. No one knows what was discussed, only the outcome. Pope Honorius II gives the Templars his blessing. His successor, Pope Innocent, gives them unprecedented power. The Templars now enjoy immunity from the laws, regulations, and taxes of every nation. The Templars become a force unto themselves. The Templars' mysterious new power